Before we get into the topic of this video, I just want to mention that I am working on a much longer, more analytical, and very in-depth video about a lot of the foundations of Elden Ring's symbolism and references, looking at 19th century occultism, ancient Babylonian mythology, and lots of other things. So that's in the works, but it's taking a lot longer than I expected, partly because I had to read a lot of books for it. Even the books I had read in the past, I had to reread them to find the parts I wanted to talk about. And then the deeper I delved into these topics, the more I found other peripherally related things that I wanted to talk about as well. So the video just keeps getting longer, and it's taking a lot longer than I expected to make it. So that's coming, but it's taking a while. Today, I just wanted to post a quick, uncontroversial video on why Elden Ring is objectively the best fantasy game ever made. But to talk about that, we need to back up a bit and talk about why franchises like The Witcher and Baldur's Gate suck. Bards.
Father, I'm starving. A song while we wait, or?
I'd rather throw myself down a well.
No one likes a bard in real life. The cliché archetype of the douchebag playing an acoustic guitar at the party has become possibly as notoriously cringe as the "where's my hug" guy. So why do we accept bards in our fantasy stories? Enough is enough. Unfortunately, the bard archetype and playable class has become all too common in fantasy media, from Tolkien's books to Dungeons & Dragons, King Killer Chronicle, the Divinity games, and so on.
Realize who I am. I shall sing of your dastardly deed. I'm Fluna Flam, minstrel of minstrels, balladeer to the grandest. No. I have sung in some of the.
Bards are just conceptually a garbage class of character, and they're ruining all of our fantasy media. Volo, trash. Liliana, trash. Orpheus literally couldn't wait 2 seconds before turning around to save his wife's life. Dandelion, trash. And the Netflix version is the most punchable character in fiction. You know what, Jaskier? Yeah, I will toss a coin to my Witcher, as soon as he delivers the trophy for the contract I posted on the most annoying theater kid in Novigrad. Shut the fuck up, Dandelion. And the games don't get any better when they introduce Priscilla. I mean, look, she didn't deserve to get the shit kicked out of her and have acid poured down her throat, but I mean, I kinda get it. We all have the urge to pour acid down a bard's throat every once in a while. Ask any D&D DM. Peter Jackson knew this too. That's why he didn't make audiences suffer through Tom Bombadil's dumbass tree fucker songs. Hell, even Tolkien was decent enough to limit the appearances of the character named Bard to like 1 paragraph. That name tells us everything we need to know about him. He sucks. Yes, him showing up right at the end of the book out of nowhere in the middle of a spontaneous lore dump and immediately killing the major threat of the story because a fucking bird told him how to hit a weak spot felt like a cheap deus ex machina that Tolkien was too lazy to set up properly, but at least it prevented us from having to read more about some asshole named Bard. Fuck off with that bullshit name.
Oh, be some other name. 'Tis but thy name that is my enemy.
Don't get me wrong, Tolkien was a scumbag. I mean, he did still fill several books with misogynistic authoritarian Catholic propaganda, and I hate him and his books for that, but at least Bard's presence was minimized. So what does all of this have to do with Elden Ring? Well, as hard as it is to escape the bardic tropes in fantasy media, Elden Ring is one of the few safe spaces fantasy nerds have. There are a handful of items in the game that are associated with music, like the envoy horns, but the horns are mostly just swung like clubs. You wield them like a barbarian, just clobbering things with a bard's gear. That's because humans seemingly can't use those instruments as instruments, so they just get used as clubs. There's really only one usable armament in the lands between that really feels like bard equipment, the harp bow. And it fucking sucks. But nothing in these games is accidental. The shittiness of this bow is a meta-commentary on bards being worthless. By including this weapon in the game, Miyazaki said, "Hey, Bard roleplayers, fuck you." And that's beautiful. We need more of that sort of anti-Bard energy in our fantasy media.